Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. My name is Starrapter, and I'm so happy, as always, for you guys to join me when I talk about these Star Wars comics. We have three to talk about, but there actually were five releases this week. One of them I just couldn't get in at my local shop. That is Saber for Hire issue 4. I think there was something going on with Diamond. And then there was also Ahsoka issue number 4, which I have right here. But as I always say, if you've read the comic, then you've watched the show, or reverse that, if you watched the show, you've read the comic, essentially. So we're going to skip that one. But getting into the first one is a brand new miniseries. Comes to us from Marvel, and that is Ewoks. So, big surprise. Well, first of all, this is written by Steve Orlando with artwork by Alvaro Lopez and Laura Braggs. This one is called Dangers from the Stars. And this is actually connected, this big surprise, this is actually connected tangentially to what is happening in the Battle of Jakku maxi series that started off last week. We have an appearance of the Moff Adelhard, who we know is taking power after the destruction of the Death Star, and now that the Emperor and Vader's dead, he is posing this whole thing about trying to grab this power vacuum in the Anuit sector, trying to cause all this disruption to become like the next ruler of the empire, essentially, with remnants and different things like that. So we have this guy, he has sent out one of his subservient people have gone out to Endor to retrieve a munitions cache. And that is the backdrop of the story. Obviously, it's about Ewoks, and we get to see the direct aftermath of the Return of the Jedi. We get to see Wicket speak with Leia before she goes away and then starts the New Republic. So we're getting to see now things have calmed down. We have Wicket, who he's basically going on an adventure with this new Ewok we've learned about named Midro. And what's really cool about Midro is he falls outside of the boundaries of Bright Tree Village. He's more of an outcast, but he's still, friendly with the Ewoks of this. But it's basically a lot about philosophy about how he doesn't want to be comfortable because then he might be weak or something. So he's always living off the land, in the wild. He doesn't have a set place where he sleeps at night. He's a lot more hardened, a lot more battle hardened, and he's very good with his spear, as we see Wicket and him are adventuring around, finding these traps, and they get attacked by this creature, and they are able to survive thanks to Midro having some very good martial ability. While this is all happening, we have this Imperial, and his name is General Koyata, and that's the guy that was given the task by Adelhard. He assembles a group of 4LM, Zuckuss, Duatin, and this ex-Imperial who is now a mercenary. So yes, we're already seeing the beginnings of the remnants, right? These Imperials, they can't rely on an entire army anymore. They're grabbing for scraps, trying to figure out what's left for them to achieve. They can't use stormtroopers much. Now they're going for mercenaries and bounty hunters, which I think is a really cool kind of storyline that's between the lines here on this one. And we're seeing how they're not that great. We're seeing them fighting off the dangers such as the Dulocs, which appeared in Legends and they're in canon obviously now, but it's a really cool thing to show, hey, this group that this Imperial has put together, they're pretty weak. Like, they aren't actually, they might not get out of this alive. But the cool thing is, the Dulocs look at 4LM, draw a liking to him essentially as like 3PO's goldenrod, except they're looking at him as a bad thing called the adversary. And that allows this group of Imperials, Koyata's men, to go to Bright Tree Village, where they're all afraid of this guy. Now they can demand what they want. And that's really how this issue ends. I'm very intrigued. I think this is going to be a great story to build up the lore of the Ewoks, obviously, but also to spread some light on what these Imperials are up to. So can't wait for issue number 2. Getting into Dark Horse. First things first, we have a brand new series starting off. I think this is a mini series of 4. This is Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone. This one is Eriadu Underground, written by Daniel Jose Alder, with artwork by Paris Allen. And this one is very cool because the backdrop is, okay, we have the storm shield that's enveloped over the Occlusion Zone, the Nihil Occlusion Zone. They found out, thanks to Porter Engle, that they can send these EX droids from Phase 2 of the High Republic, this different old tech, to be able to get messages, back across the storm shield. So Elzar Mann is sending EX3 droids, and we get to see Kort, who is now in Eriadu, thanks to the Star Wars The High Republic Adventure storyline. He's able to receive that droid, is relaying all the information that's what's currently happening on Eriadu, with Eriadu City and Bifrang City big things going on with the Tarkin. So this whole issue is a good kind of focused in point. It's almost like a continuation of the High Republic Adventures, where we have the storylines of Crash and of Sevran, who is now the leader of the Tarkin, of the Quintet, who is the ruling families of the Eriadu system, and all this sort of thing. But it's neat. So we get to see Severin has now this character that used to be their friends kind of double cross them in a way and says, oh, I'm actually seizing power. The Nihil and the Jedi and the Republic, they're all going to have to vie for my favor, essentially, to allow them to have an ally, essentially. So it's very interesting that she has gone away. They're trying to get her back. So what they do is they kind of kidnap her Vermok, which is their monkey thing. And that is when they let it go free, it tracks her, and they're able to find her location because she's been hiding out underneath by Frank City, which is fragilely put together by this reactor that got destabilized 3 years ago with the Nihil bombardment. And it's basically signifying she's trying to repair this thing. And if there's all-out war that happens on Eriadu with the Nihil and the Jedi and the Republic, there's a chance that that reactor could go boom, and half that landmass could just completely be destroyed by the lava and the magma of that volcano. So there's a lot going on there. But I like how this story, this miniseries, is giving us that deeper kind of, in there, and we're getting more story in there. We leave off on a cliffhanger where another EX droid gets into the hands of Dridget, who we know is part of the Nihil. So what happens when a Nihil gets an EX droid? Probably nothing good. So I'm looking forward to the next issue. We see Tyark is on the cover. We see that Keith Trennis is on the cover. So these characters that are in other mediums, other stories, are coming together in the Occlusion Zone. So maybe Eriadu will be like the big final battle of the High Republic. There's a good point that it could be, because there's been a lot of stories now that have talked about this. What is the importance of this planet? So that was what happened there. And the last story I want to talk about this week continues another miniseries from Dark Horse, and that is High Republic Adventures Echoes of Fear. This is part 2. And this one is written, of course, by George Mann, with artwork by Vincenzo Federico and with Juan Samu. And this one picks up with, of course, Amadeo and Wreath Silas are doing research on the Echo Stones, which we find out in Tears of the Nameless, young adult novel written by George Mann. The importance of the Echo Stones, the way they're linked to the Nameless, the way that they can lure Nameless to get them to do what they want to do, as well as the Blight is affected by this. So they, Wreath is making connections here, thinking if they can find the Echo Stones where they came from, then that could potentially be where the Nameless came from. So they go back into the annals of Barnibus Vim, and Barnibus Vim is basically a story from Quest of the Jedi Phase 2, a comic written by Claudia Gray, where he found an Echo Stone. It corrupted this woman and caused her to do some pretty bad things. So he knows the Echo Stones already are dangerous. So his whole mission is going around the galaxy at this point, trying to find out where more of these things are to get them out of people's hands and get them to a safe place. And that leads him to this Jedi Wayseeker. And we know Wayseekers are not abided by the council. They kind of go out on their own, and they're kind of free-spirited Jedi. So we find out that this Jedi, his name is Tarak, and him and Barnibus go way back, apparently like 20 years. They're good friends. But this guy's been using this Echo Stone, relying on it too much. There's legends and stories of him using it to save people and just basically make things easier, using the Force that amplifies your Force abilities. And that's where we find this big thing where Barnibus is trying to get this Echo Stone away from him. It almost is sort of like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, right? The wearer has power, but they get corrupted. They become different. Same sort of vibes I'm getting from the Echo Stones, frankly. And they have to work together, because what's happening is there's this big natural disaster flood that is about to wipe out this whole area. And that's really hitting close to home with what's happening on in Florida right now. So, thoughts go out to everybody over there. Please get to someplace safe, because this story is basically like, okay, these inhabitants, these indigenous people of this planet, obviously they don't want to leave their stuff there, but it's their safety that's the utmost concern. But the Jedi, Barnibus, and Tarak are able to use the Echo Stone to create a dam out of the soil at the perfect time as the wave surge comes in, and it protects the people. But doing that causes Tarak to have to almost pass out, almost die in a way, because of all the the energy of the cosmic force he's utilizing at that moment. So he finally comes to grips with Barnibus and tells him, like, okay, you could take the stone, and he also gives information to Barnibus about where the stones came from, even though he hadn't been there. And Barnibus actually makes it through this abyss and arrives on what could be Planet X, but we don't know. We don't have any more transmissions that they found, Reith and Silas, of Barnibus Vim. They don't go any further than this, right? So what happened to Barnibus Vim? We don't know. So that's where the next story goes in, because now maybe his a Padawan could possibly know. So that's going to come up in the next issue. Can't wait for that one as well. Again, really pushing the storyline forward for the High Republic as a whole. Good comics this week. Very good comics. Hopefully I get Saber for Hire issue number 4 in ASAP. Next week is New York Comic Con. So if you're in the area and you can find me, I might be concealed using some helmets and some other things with cosplay I'll be in. But if you do find me and my buddy Matthew over there on the Tractor Beam weekly show, we go live on the Star Wars Underworld every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, if you weren't aware. Me and him are going to be doing plenty of content. There's a lot of Star Wars comic stuff happening. There's a panel. The main panel is on Friday afternoon, but there's also a Dark Horse panel on Saturday. There's an author panel tangentially related to Star Wars authors on Thursday. There's even a Hasbro panel. So there's a lot going on with Star Wars at New York Comic Con. So if you see me, say hi. If you're going to be there, hey, cool. We could always meet up somewhere. After the panels is where I'll be. You'll know where to find me. So there you go. So that's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also included 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.